Susan Davis is one of those incredible pioneers who believes that you can create for-profit companies that serve and solve social problems. And she has done it over and over and over and over and over again. In 1965, she helped start Boston's African-American newspaper, the Bay State Banner. And since then, she has started a zillion other things. Susan, like Nina, is passionately clear that human beings can self-organize the way nature does, like the cells of one body. She calls it biomimicry for humans. She started Capital Emissions Company in 1990 and began creating networks of social investors to prove social investing is viable. Happily, they have succeeded. She started the Shore Bank, and many of the things she started I'm part of, and many of the people here are part of. But some of them are the Investor Circle, Social Venture Network, Committee of 200, Destiny Circle, Making Profit While Making a Difference, which is a conference that many people attend every year. And she has a kind of a sixth sense about finding her kindred spirits, and they seem to thrive in her networks. But, you know, it's kind of like when Susan's around, the natural connectivity that's already there really shows up. She's a bold, fearless, dynamic, clear, inspired leader who creates fields where people realize who they are. She's actually a phenomenon, cleverly disguised as a human being. Help me welcome Susan Davis.
Lynn has misled you a little because I have been in finance most of my life. And in finance, you have to agree to freeze your heart, go into your mind, analyze to a fare thee well, or you really get drummed out of finance, because if you show emotion in finance, it's considered unethical. Because people who manage other people's money cannot be subjective. This has been very hard to have a frozen heart all my life. And it's very hard for me to speak from my heart. And usually I've been speaking all my life about my passion of social investing. And I try and get as much information out as possible and sound like a financier. But for this speech, James asked me if I would speak about I've kind of been able to manifest my destiny path. And it's a very personal story, and James asked me to tell it tonight. And I said yes, but it's really scary. So I thought about what is easiest for me to go into my heart, and it's when I sing, because I love to sing. So I decided to sing something tonight that is a blessing for all of us, because James defined success for IONS is that we've all manifested our destiny paths. So I decided to sing for that reason, and also because I bet you guys believe that a financier can't sing. We are here. We are here. Keepers of the garden, we are here. When, if not now, where, if not here, who, if not you and me? My dad was CEO of a company called Bancroft Racket Company, and today he'd be called a socially responsible CEO. If something went wrong, it was his fault. If something went right, it was to the credit of that person. My dad was really happy. My mom was a volunteer who would pick us up from school, take us to Children's Home and Aid, the church, the school, the hospital, and she got the deepest level of satisfaction out of being a servant to her people. So growing up, I wanted the joy that my mother and my father had. And when I got to time to work, it seemed to me that I wanted to work for a for-profit company that solves social problems. And there was no career like that. So the first time I took a risk around my values to trust my intuition, to find my path, was when I decided I was going to hold out for what I wanted. And I kind of went into the unknown. I wound up getting a master's, going for a master's on full scholarship at Harvard in anthropology, because social anthropology I knew had the best story about how innovation is introduced into society. And I thought if I wanted to introduce that innovation, I better learn how. And I was in my favorite class with my favorite professor, which was about indigenous tribes. And I had chosen the Azad tribe because I had a close friend from the eastern region of Nigeria, a man I later married. And I wrote, the whole grade was this one paper. I wrote the most beautiful paper about the Azad. But when it came time to write the conclusion, I couldn't write it. Meanwhile, I had been working with some African Americans that were starting Boston's Black newspaper in 1965. And the last day for the paper due, that was the whole grade, came. And I sat there thinking about the centuries of survival of this tribe against all odds. And who was I to write a conclusion? And if I was here to serve my people, couldn't I do it a lot better, helping start this African American newspaper in Boston? So I left Harvard after one semester and did that. My friends, my family were aghast. What was I thinking? But again, I trusted my intuition to take a risk around my values to find my path, which I have found to be the path of pure joy. The effort in '65 was just before the riots, and so I had the most gratifying experience. We succeeded with this paper. It's thriving today. It's been of service to its community all these years. And lo and behold, it actually turned out to be the smartest career move I could have made, because with the racial challenges of that time, at the time of the riots, I was front and center and dealing with many of the executives in Boston that as a young girl I would never have had the opportunity. So I've always found that doing the right thing has served both myself and my people. So that anchored me in this career I'd been looking for, of helping start for-profit companies that could solve social problems. And as you know, there's a thriving industry, and we're busy. Corporate social responsibility is well along in converting the world, with half the largest companies doing social audits and that kind of thing. Well, I helped start a couple of others, including with friends, ShoreBank, which is a neighborhood development bank, which has now created an industry globally of neighborhood development banks. And after about 7 years of that, I had 2 children under 5, one of whom is here tonight, with another daughter. And I had a very secure vice president position with this very eminent neighborhood development bank. But I had a vision of, I was supposed to start a national network of top women business owners. And it was such a strong vision that I didn't know what to do, because it seemed crazy. My husband was actually sick. My 2 children were under 5. The position was very secure and had high status with my values. What was I thinking? I checked with a few friends. It was a crazy thing to do. I should never do it. But I have learned to trust my intuition. And so one day I went into a bedroom and I lay down on the bed And I just invited all the fears I had to come into my body. And I began shaking uncontrollably, which had never happened to me before. I don't know how long I lay there, but when I got up and left the room, I left my fears in the room. I started the Committee of 200, brought the top women business owners in the country together 25 years ago when no one even knew there were women business owners except for Virginia Graham. And that's how I anchored the life work of myself to create a different way for humans to be together. I met all these women that were my idols, they were my mentors, they were my role models, and something absolutely electric happened for all of us. Most of us had never met our peers. And we came out as who we really were. We started telling each other. The first night nobody went home. We told each other what our real purpose in life was. We weren't here to make money. We were here to do all kinds of things, personal missions, and we told those stories. And I'd never been in a business environment where that could happen. And we all took equal turns at the mic, and we watched for the new, and we supported it, and we created a living environment. When Nina was talking about using natural systems to heal the earth, the first time 25 years ago in the Committee of 200, I had an experience of using living systems to heal humans. It's kind of these networks that I've done over my life are like biomimicry for people. So once you've had this experience of this freedom and joy of real honesty that's created when people treat each other the way nature treats itself, it's kind of like the cells in your body. Every cell knows what it's supposed to do uniquely, and it knows how your whole body operates. DHOC calls it distributed intelligence. In these networks, everybody has all the information all the time, and you have your own special, what you love to do and do uniquely well, and you do that, but you know how the whole organism operates as well. And this is the human organizations that can heal the earth. So that began a career where, right after I created the Committee of 200, I went to a money center bank because I had believed that corporations control the world and finance controls corporations. And I felt that I was to go into the belly of the beast of finance and heal finance from within. So I went to a money center bank, learned high finance, which was really difficult because you do have to freeze your heart. And I bided my time, and in 1990 I felt that there was enough momentum behind social investing that I could make a contribution. I left, and I decided then that at 49 I was going to come out as my true self, no more guarded self. And so I put on our website that the mission of this capital missions company was going to be catalyzing a globally sustainable economy. A little challenging. So I studied about this method of innovation at Harvard, and I decided, well, I'll take every niche of finance, and I'll find the social investors, and I'll bring them together, and they'll create a track record that shows that social investing is at least as profitable, because it just made sense to me that that would be true. So the first one was social venture capital. We actually named the industry. We started the investor circle. It took a year to even find 100 social venture capital investors. And we went on from there to create a total of 10 social investment networks, solar investors, institutional social investors, investors in microenterprise in Nigeria, the companies that offer social investment products, the financiers of the top African American businesses, financiers of the top women-led businesses. And I'm happy to say, we don't have a lot of time tonight for long stories, but just recently, the work that these 10 brave social investor networks has done, in addition to the work done by other social investment organizations, has resulted in incontrovertible evidence that socially responsible companies financially outperform. this is information that every one of you needs. So anyone who gives me their card, I will send you by email a document we call the Holy Grail for good purpose. And it gives you the websites that has the documentation from the investment analysts and the other analysts to prove that what I said is true. So all this time, 15 years creating these networks, there's only been 2 of us in Capital Missions Company. So you give me a lever and a place to stand and I can change the world. James wants me to be telling you these stories tonight because you set your dream, you set your clear intention, you trust your intuition, you take risks around your values, and you can manifest your destiny. So just a minute about what these networks are like, because it's a method, I call it the KINS method for the Key Initiator Network Strategy. We actually taught it all day in a workshop to 40 of you yesterday, and everybody learned it like it was a breeze. They're all going back to use it. It's a way of bringing people together to operate like nature, and it's the most time-efficient and cost-efficient way to introduce innovation. It costs very little, and it has absolutely transformative effects. Just a couple of the principles I mentioned. Distributed intelligence, that all the members have access to all the information all the time. Everybody gets equal time at the mic. Each person represents their constituency. You have a large number of constituencies come together. For example, in the solar circle we did recently with the mission of making solar happen for the world, there were 30 different constituencies of solar who came together to, almost as if in a lab when you control conditions to find the cure of a disease, these very trusted spokespeople for 30 different constituencies of solar were able to simulate different solutions to how to make solar happen for the world in a way that they could create a blueprint and all take it back to their constituencies and have that innovation adopted. So the KINS method is something we'll teach at other ION conferences, and it's something that will be available to many of you, and it's a very exciting development. But the story I want to tell tonight that is really quite hard because it's very personal. That's why 2 of my daughters and 3 of my friends are sitting in the front row to bolster my courage. This is something that happened to me a year and a half ago and has changed my life forever. And I feel that it may speak to you. I've been healthy all my life and very appreciative of that. And a year and a half ago, I got so sick that I was drinking fluids and was trying to find a cleansing program, couldn't find one. Just one of those things, I didn't know what was wrong. Finally, I was in Hawaii on vacation. I was guided into a bookstore. I heard a voice telling me to find a book. I found a book. I was told to open to a page. I opened to a page. There was a story about a woman called Auntie Margaret Machado. Turned out by going to Google, she lived half an hour from where I was in Kealakekua Bay. She only had 2 programs a year. They were always filled. Somebody dropped out. It was 4 days from then. I went in. I wouldn't have believed it if it hadn't happened to me. So then I had an amazing experience of healing. And each night, as the sun went down, we would do a Hawaiian ceremony called Ho'oponopono, a ritual of forgiveness. As the sun sets, you forgive yourself for anything you've done to harm any other person in thought, word, or deed, and forgive others for having hurt you. And I was having a lovely meditation, and suddenly a voice spoke to me and told me a story that is pretty much exactly the story I'm going to tell you. There's a soul in heaven that comes to the guides and says it's ready for a mighty challenge. The guides confer and come back and say, well, we need a soul who's willing to go to become a Trojan horse of love, to go into finance and freeze your heart and train your mind to a fare thee well and establish credibility until you're at the point where you can start to release love within finance and rebalance finance. And the soul says, well, actually that sounds right for me. And the guides say now, it's going to be very hard to freeze your heart over a long period of time. And so we give you 3 gifts. We'll let you hear your intuition. We'll send many kindred spirits to help you. And we'll have you be very healthy. And the soul says, well, will I go in as a man or as a woman? And the guides say, there are many souls now choosing to go in as a woman, to be Trojan horses of love, not just in finance, but in business, in politics, in education, because there needs to be a rebalancing on the earth. And the soul says, well, who will my mother and my father be? And the guides say, well, your father will be a master of business, who will teach you the discipline that you'll need to go into finance. And the soul says, who will my mother be? Your mother will be a master of all the ways of love, so that when you're ready to release love, you'll know what to do. And so the soul says, yes, I will take that assignment. And then the voice said, and then Susan Elizabeth Davis was born to Tyler Burton Davis and Adelaide Boyd Davis. And as I heard those words, I knew that it was my father's voice talking to me. My father had been dead for many years. And then the voice continued and began telling me the story of my life. Remember when you were in 4th grade and you were walking home from grade school with a B on your report card and your stomach was in knots and you were thinking to yourself, I'm only in 4th grade. Why should I have a stomach and knots because I'm only getting a B? And the voice said, and you see, because I had to give you that level of discipline for you to carry out the agreement. And the voice went on and told me the whole story of my life, how I'd created this, working with so many other people, created this new method of networks, of people operating the way nature operates, to come together as equals and co-creators and transformers. And that was how I was able to be a Trojan horse of love. And then the voice came to a conclusion and said, we honor you. We thank you. We appreciate you. You have fulfilled your agreement. And you are now released. Put yourself in my place. I'm on Kealakekua Bay. The sun is going down. And I'm feeling flooded, overwhelmed with emotion, with joy that I'm being appreciated, and part of me is feeling like I'm getting fired from the unpaid job of my life. I was stunned. I've had difficult times in my life, and I've known that you go into the unknown and you just stay present. And I did that, and it's been quite a journey. Things are materializing around me now without me doing much at all, like a tipping point network that's a meta network that will bring all the niches of sustainability together for a holistic design for reaching sustainability. But this personal experience was stupefying, basically. So I told only my husband, and after a while I told a few women friends. And I was floored because they said to me, Susan, I'm a Trojan horse of love. Oh my goodness, I thought. You know, there were so many women like me that flooded into the patriarchal systems when I did. Maybe all these women are Trojan horses of love, and we're going to be able to rebalance our society. And I was just, you know, filled with thought and feeling. And then I have as many good male friends as I have female friends, and I told a few of my male friends the story. They said, Susan, I'm a Trojan horse of love. I've been trapped in that success, career stuff. That's not who I am. So I thought, if I told you this story, and I ask you to imagine if we are all Trojan horses of love who've taken these assignments, and we all decide at the same time to step out of the Trojan horse, and instead of sacking Troy and raising Troy, we raise up love. And we do it together, and we do it at once. And I invite you, it's wonderful outside the Trojan horse, and come on over.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Susan. Thank you.